Hello everybody, and welcome back to Khemia. We're here with Skipioi meeting up with, the people. Gonna do the things and our mission. Or something like that, anyway. 10 minutes later, I'm in the lecture hall with Veterus along with Amicus, Neferu, Brutus, and Virginia. These bi-weekly meetings feel very different now that my two peers are gone. Me being the youngest and least important part of the envoy is made all the more obvious. No, excuse me. But aside from that, business progresses as usual. It's a rather casual affair. It's not a depressing one due to Adastra's lack of progress with Khemia. Not much can be done at this point unless Khemian equivalents, that's what I mean, okay, to Amicus show up on the stretch drive and make the decisions in person. That hasn't happened in months, and while Neferu is certainly important, he isn't as important as his brother, the Vizier. So instead, we discuss how wolvish society and culture should approach its various Khemian counterparts. I'm paying fairly close attention, as the topic is about diplomatic language. How on Khemia, one must always use words, never fists, as Khemians see the latter as a sign of weakness, and lacking control. But then Amicus and Neferu argue for a while, and how wolves must learn to separate diplomatic language from outright lies, which Amicus argues is the same thing. Especially in times, as times change, our needs change. Therefore, some premises cannot be kept. Promises. I said premises, didn't I? Promises cannot be kept. Yes, but unkept promises can be enough to ruin a generation. An adversary, or even an ally that does not hold up their part of the bargain, no matter the change in times, is branded unreliable and relations are unlikely to progress in any form. I find myself agreeing with Neferu, even though I would never, ever say such a thing out loud. Especially not here. Earth report! Number 134 has arrived. Shall I brief you on its contents? Emperor Amicus! I don't know why I voiced the computer like that. Their argument interrupted. Amicus pauses, and then gives a terse yes as a response, likely knowing the news would not be good. It rarely is when coming from Earth. Earth. The planet I'd only learned of last week, after being chosen along with the ongoing efforts to integrate its humans into the Galaxia. The human who had once resided in the palace is on his own mission, trying to bring the parents' vision to fruition. I'm curious about them, but this part of the mission is not for me to know, only having been introduced to the concept so Amicus can think about and discuss it freely. No, sorry, just adjusting a thing. There we go. So I lower my eyes as the briefing begins, yet I'm still able to feel Amicus's mood darken. You will recall that 3 days ago, after the deaths of 3 American diplomats who came into contact with the human, it had been discovered that he is sporadically shedding a pox virus. No, that plot point is still here. Okay. Unfortunately, there has been further developments in which one of the diplomats visited an establishment that serves food and beverage. 4 British officials were infected by this diplomat, and all subsequently perished in the past 2 days. The human has been placed in quarantine, and talks between nations have come to a halt for the time being. The United States of America and the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland have jointly threatened to withdraw from talks if there are further casualties. However, there appears to be no further spread of the virus at this time, likely due to the rapid onset of symptoms and, so far, 100% mortality rate in humans. I'd understand how many, excuse me, understand many of the Earth words, so I understand enough. Okay. How can aviapox be so lethal to these humans? Different thingies. No other primates we know have trouble with it. And these threats to end talks about being part of the Galaxia. How frustrating that 2 states can halt an entire world from progressing. I'm quietly relieved that the hard borders of our past are over now. Excuse me, at least. Amicus grumbles under his breath. How could they be so goddamn stupid? At first, I wonder if he's talking about the humans, which I find unfair. Then I realize he might be speaking of the parents, which I find terrifying. Then he raises his voice. Do we know how many sapiens that can contract aviapox and remain contagious after initial infection? No, Emperor Amicus. Ahem. I'm not an expert on infectious diseases by any means, but considering how little we know about the effects of the virus on humans, anything could be possible. Yes, and due to parental negligence, he's in quarantine. I'm beginning to think we need to bring him back, like, back here, back home. Amicus almost shouts. If my fear of the parents wasn't obvious before, it is now. My eyes wide open. The parents do work in mysterious... by making my human appear as if he is a bioweapon. What the hell are they playing at? We witnessed it. I remember a rustle of leaves and quickly steer my mind away from what I had heard on the bench. Virginia, who had been silent through most of the discussion, clears her throat. Oh, she's got a new sprite. There we go. Okay. I was wondering. I'm like, everyone else has gotten new material. And I remember Virginia didn't get a new sprite last time. So, I was curious. Unfortunately, Amicus, we know the parents are not able to foresee all things. We can only fulfill our own duties on our own plane of existence. Amicus takes a deep breath, sighing loudly. I know his relationship with the human is close. Everyone knows this based on what we saw during his fight with Kato, though how close is wildly different depending on who you ask. It's clear he's more rattled than I've ever seen him, though, his paws shaking on his knees. Speaking of which, you had something to announce to our envoy? Before the Empire as a whole, correct? Did I? Virginia sighs. Oh, right. I'm sorry, sister. The parental catastrophe on Earth had me slightly distracted. Again, I feel an ominous cloud over us, as if the parents themselves have entered the room in disapproval. As you all know, our discussion with the Vizier and Pharaoh have stalled over the past few months. To show Khemia that Adastra is truly dedicated to an alliance. Amicus swallows, as if he's having trouble getting the words out of his throat. I will be joining the envoy despite that, the many hardships it will bring to our empire. I do believe the benefits will outweigh the cost. Khemia has accepted my requests. Oh? Excuse me. So you'll be joining us. I'm surprised. Even I wouldn't have given in to Father's pompous and unreasonable demands so easily. Having Amicus with us changes the dynamic of the entire mission, and while reassuring, knowing my Emperor will be there the entire time just makes it all the more stressful. Talks have been stalled for 3 months at Neferu. Anyway, during this time, Virginia will fill the role as acting Empress. Now my muzzle is hanging open, if only because it's the first time I've heard such words put together. Oh man, President Virginia, let's go. I'm sorry, Empress Virginia, not President. She's gonna do it, guys. She's gonna save Adastra. Veterus visibly blanches while Neferu and Brutus barely react at all. I quickly snap my mouth closed. Thank you, my Emperor. I will perform my duties in a way that honors both the Empire and you, brother.
You always do, Virginia. This means we should all keep in mind the fact that departure could occur any day now, depending on when the ship arrives.
I almost gasp and instead disguise it with a stifled cough. The last few meetings had indicated a fast approaching departure, but the possibilities that it could be only days or even a day away causes my heart to pound in my chest. I calm myself, remembering that my task is rather simple. No need to be anxious. At least all my tasks, at least all my tasks not involving Neferu anyway.
Now, I must be off to have a discussion with the parents once again, to make sure we're actually still on some sort of track.
Well, you're gonna be disappointed there, Amicans. It's dark by the time we're heading out. On the way, Amicus corners me to covertly ask me if I had a discussion with Veterus, which I confirm. Then the Emperor glances over at Neferu, who is leaning up against the pillar. I take the hint, and as everyone else leaves, I approach the jackal, suddenly feeling nervous. Likely because I have ulterior motives now, and that doesn't feel good, but I know if I am to perform my role well, I shouldn't be feeling any different at all. Well, hello there, chosen one. Usually it is me that approaches you. Is it not? Something catching your eye? I try to work out if that's a normal thing Neferu would say, deciding that my boldness must be causing him to act even more forward than usual. I shrug as casually as possible. Well, considering that my role is now certain, I thought we should better acquaint ourselves. Is that so? Well, how do you think we could best do that? The tone in Neferu's voice has its usual playful lilt. Okay, not lit. Is it lit? Do you all think Neferu is lit, everyone? But with an underlying pointedness that makes me flush and just a bit under my fur. Well, I sidestep his theatrics and games for now, realizing that taking the lead is too far out of my character when interacting with Neferu. Do you have any interesting plans for the night? Maybe you could help me better understand the Khemian way of things. That would be rather difficult to do here on Adastra, but as for plans, not particularly. Oh, that man's okay. I have not seen Brunus's new model, new sprite. This man thick. He was always thick, but now we have like more of a side view of him. Okay. This man's mane is also wild and out here.
Hey, ready to go, Neff. Oh, hey there, Skip.
Hello, Brunus. I'm at least able to avoid wincing now whenever they use the pet name for Scipioi, one usually reserves for pups. That depends, Brunus. Firstly, I was meaning to ask Skip if he would like to visit a den with me. I blink. That's not exactly something you say loudly in such a quiet and hollow echoing room. I had been on the verge of simply asking if I could join the two of them to make an attempt to fill my new role, less conspicuous. It's also something he's never asked me, despite his notoriously promiscuous reputation. I got there, guys. Is it because I'm now guaranteed? Would he have asked the same of Carbo? Imagine that bookish wolf in this situation as well. It's unimaginable. I can at least say I'm experienced, visiting a den with a partner. Well,
all right then. Have fun, you two.
Well, that's a cute expression. That one, this one, that's kind of cute. The giant creature doesn't wait for my response before turning and heading out, leaving me alone with Neferu in the empty university. He's still waiting, waiting on an answer. Back during my university days, if I became friendly with another attractive wolf, male or female, we would usually make a stop at a tavern or entertainment venue before possibly ending up in a den. It was a weekly occurrence during my first few years attending the school, and yet my heart flutters like I'm 10 years younger, about to experience a den for the first time. Yes, I'd like to. Wonderful. I feel embarrassingly warm at the idea of a Chemian finding me attractive enough to bring me to a den, and I quickly remind myself of my mission. Whether or not I find the jackal charming or attractive matters not. I have a job to do. Neferu offers me his arm, as if escorting me. There's an establishment in the Clay District we can go to. The Clay District. The surprise and hesitation in my voice is obvious. Sorry, would you rather go somewhere else? It's simply whatever. It's simply somewhat close by, but I don't want to make you uncomfortable if you have a problem with that place. Well, it's more the place has a problem with me. They're not fond of the elite. I say it with a feigned expression, and not really feeling elite in any way, but I raised a paw to my mane, flipping the fur there casually. Yes, apologies for not remembering. Maybe we could catch up to Sensing Neferu pulling back from the initial offer, I place a paw on his proffered? How's this pronounced? Is it proffered? Proffered arm. It has been a while since any so-called elite has been attacked in the streets. Besides, I'm curious as to what it might be like, considering you want to go. I give Neferu the chance to explain, but he simply smiles at me. I'll keep you safe, either way. Oh, this background. The jackal keeps my arm around his the entire time, and I speculate that it's a sort of a Chemian ritual before sexual intercourse, and I begin taking mental notes. Meanwhile, I enjoy the feel of his thick bicep flexing again slightly under the incredibly short fur, practically just a black velvet covering his defined muscles. I quickly forget about the other, possibly hostile pedestrians as we get closer to the dens. They're not looking at me anyway. I'm annoyed at myself for feeling nervous, and also feeling a bit taken by this jackal. The entrance is a shabby side door where Neferu signs in and pays, ignoring these stares with ease, and I find myself becoming a bit annoyed with the other wolves, breaking den etiquette just because he's a Chemian. I suppose I shouldn't expect anything different from those in the Clay District. Then we're led down a narrow hall and into the room Neferu rented. The lights are dimmed low and Neferu fumbles with the switch while I go to sit on the bed. Post-edit? Okay. It's a long session of sorts, though not very much happens, as Neferu seems to simply enjoy touching me. At first, I'm a bit confused, unsure if it's some type of foreplay, but then I realize he's encouraging me to explore and touch back, and at some point we simply end up entangled together, lying there. His arms are around me tightly, and I can smell the wine on his breath. Maybe it's a bit rude, but all of this makes me genuinely wonder if he's lonely. As our movements ease to stillness, I reach back to rest a paw on his shoulder, just in case he needs reassurance. Then I slowly fall asleep. I wake up, but what happens is in the following moment is something that my mind is never able to fully process. The door to our den is open, and I wonder why, because it should have been locked. Is Neferu? As I reach for my glasses, I realize he's sleeping next to me, but that's when a large dark figure stands up beside our bed. A wolf who I don't know, his sense simply telling me he's a stranger and a male. There's something in his paw, and for a moment I try to yell, but nothing happens. The dark, blocky shape of his head turns in my direction, noticing me awake, and my insides turn to water. He moves, but then there's a harsh, ear-splitting crack, and before my eyes, I see the man, the sapient, bend and warp into the shape of a wave before blasting apart. I'm splattered by wetness, by smells and feelings I haven't felt since. Aww. A light goes on, floating around us, displaying the horror. What the hell happened, Calm? Neferu is moving around beside me, but I can't move. I smell this person all over me. I'm covered in him. Tasting his blood, viscera, and more in my muzzle. An assassination was attempted on the lives of Neferu and Scipioi. Separatist connections are suspected. Amicus has been notified. The drone's small built-in speaker makes Calm's voice sound harsh, and as it lights, a light turns to illuminate the wall, I see everything. No. Target was fully neutralized. Bodily state is incompatible with life. That's a way of wording that. Incompatible with life, one says. Okay. No. Skip? I grasp at my mane. I feel them pulling at it. They're going to pull me out onto the street. What? Neferu finally focuses on me after fumbling around for the lights. I need to... I can't breathe. I roll off the bed, feeling the blood and soft, fleshy masses in my fur as I try to crawl under the bed, but I find no space. Then I crawl beside the sofa, still covering my mane, avoiding the blood in the streets, avoiding the men with bricks torn from the university. I avoid looking at one of my old professors in rhetoric, as he gets his head smashed in with one of the bricks, the men taunting him, asking him if his fancy words can save him now. I cover my eyes, waiting. Someone, Neferu, touches my shoulder. It's like it's in 2 times in places at once, but the touch, it begins to ground me. Still, I cover my mane and tremble until I'm finally able to bring the present back to focus, one that's not much better than the past. I look up and see Neferu staring at me. He's seen it. He sees what's wrong with me. I'm certain I'm not going to Khemia anymore. Okay, we're gonna end the part there, everyone. So I hope you've all enjoyed, and I'll see you guys around.